Hey, so I'm gonna reply to this comment and clarify um, what I posted about. This comment's from Certified ADA Advocate. This guy is awesome. He talks about, he's an advocate in court for people who are dealing with disability issues and things like that. And it's crazy how the courts, in this day and age of politically correct, let's cater to, the disabled, let's cater to downtrodden people, let's cater to the poor people, let's cater to people of color and all this other stuff. And they still, like, this guy has countless stories of people getting shafted out of their rights and treated and maligned, and not allowing the court not allowing advocacy or help or catering to somebody in their disability or accommodating. Anyway, I was talking about how, the number one answer for fixing the system. Now, this will never happen. So let me clarify. This is never going to happen because you need people to help do it. And people are lazy and shiftless, so that there's not enough people who care. Like, if you guys check out Malibu Dallas, he's the number one advocate I've seen against CPS. That guy did a video where he said, some of you guys need to calm down. My phone's ringing off the hook from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. And sometimes I get people calling me and texting me at 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. because you guys just feel entitled to have me on call 24/7 because you're suffering. So you think that I should just not have a life and not sleep and not get breaks and not get downtime to recover. And Malibu Dallas said that, advocates are overworked and underpaid. Like, these lawyers are making hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions. I still live paycheck to paycheck, and I just had a guy tell me, all I care about, I'm just in it for the money. Just shows how dumbed down my own gender is. Anyway, so the gentleman, certified ADA advocate, he he says that firing is a half measure. So the thing is, what I was saying is, you know, when somebody gets fired for doing something at a job, or let's say you're driving a forklift carelessly and the forklift rolls over and hurts somebody, or you almost hit somebody with a forklift and that person gets fired, and there are other people kind of goofing off and being careless on the forklift, then everybody else at the job will be extra cautious driving the forklift or whatever. Somebody gets caught with, having an affair at a job where they have a no relations policy with anybody else or something like that. And then there's a couple other people screwing around. They might cut off that relationship or fix it or make sure nobody sees them or something. If a judge, now just you have to picture this. If a judge is running for reelection and an attorney runs against that judge, and in his campaign, they point out two or three cases where the judge gave custody to a mother who had a sex offender boyfriend, a mother who beat the kids, or a dad who was a good dad and the mother falsely accused him and he went to jail and then he was vindicated by some evidence or something. And that made the news and it was exposed and there were people campaigning and the word was spreading like wildfire and on social media and stuff, and everybody's like, vote this guy out. He gives custody to child abusers and hates fathers. If he gets voted out and destroyed in the voting booth, then all the other judges are going to start being a little more cautious. And then even after that, now the problem is judges don't get voted on or voted out but every 4 years. And 90% of the time, the judges are running unopposed because the lawyers are in on it and they don't run against judges. Or the governor who appointed a judge, they know that there's trouble or, there's intimidation stuff going on where you don't run against a sitting judge appointed by a governor. But let's pretend, all things being equal, in the regular world, attorneys have the balls to run against judges and expose them. We had one case like that I knew of out of doing this for 23 years in Washington, in Tacoma. There were two lawyers running against two corrupt judges. And I called upon, the fathers' rights groups that were still around. I said, hey, Get your people to volunteer and go door to door and tell people vote against this judge because they're corrupt and this and that. Now, that still wouldn't have been enough for other judges to see. But if you make an example out of a judge, if you do this, you will get voted out. Most of these judges want to be in there for 10, 20 years or the rest of their life. And if they know they will be voted out if they don't make fair ruling, just think about a presidential election or a governor's election or a mayor's election. All of a sudden, the year of the election, they start doing certain things, or they start, like saying, "Oh, I'm going to be tough on the border. I'm going to lower taxes and do all this stuff that they didn't do their entire presidency or as governor of a state or whatever. They're only promising to do it right before election, and idiot voters just believe it, and it sounds good, so they vote for them. So they get their act together when it counts and when the cameras are looking. But if you put these people under scrutiny and they get voted out specifically for their bad rulings in a family court, the judges will realize if I get bad rulings and then you have advocacy groups following up and exposing a couple more judges after that, then the judges are put on notice. But see, that takes work and that takes energy and that takes an advocacy group. And then you're dealing with fathers, and you can't get three fathers together to protest more than once. I had a guy who protested with me one time, and the whole time he's asking me free questions and trying to do a consult while we're out protesting. And then when I was trying to leave, I said, I got to pick up my daughter from school. He's like, hey, what about this? What about that? And he's following me all the way to my car, and he's almost in my car. That's the type of annoying crap that the men do all the time who think that they get, I do a consult and like, oh, one more question and one more question and one more. Like, dude, we're 15 minutes over. Do you want to pay me for another half an hour? Oh, no, no, no. Okay, bye. Anyway, you expose a judge for doing something. Sometimes when somebody gets caught with corruption in politics or at a job or, at Walmart or Facebook or something, they get caught doing something, and all of a sudden they have some regulations to clean house. There was actually a couple of clerks at King County, where Seattle is. Seattle sits in King County. In the early 2000s, a couple of clerks got caught by a local newspaper, or maybe it's news media, television media, I don't know which one, giving out legal advice and giving bad legal advice. And so what King County had to do is they cleaned house and fired just about every clerk, and they had to hire a whole slew of people. And that's actually a time where I became a clerk at the courthouse, and I saw behind the scenes what really goes on, and now I got some insight that I could snitch on them about. That's another reason why they don't like me at the courthouse. So, um, uh, I just had a flashback about how corrupt those people are. A judge and they're saying, "Oh, that guy's guilty of sin," during a lunch break, telling all of his staff that some defendant is guilty of sin, instead of just being quiet and letting the jury decide. In any case, it would work if there's the backup and the follow through that goes with it, but that won't happen anytime soon. So the next thing to change the system is to have like a civil rights like movement and or a Me Too movement where people are in the streets and there's millions of people out there and there's people advocating, and you totally change the heart of judges, and or you have good people run for a judge. The couple of judges that I liked, there's one judge that I really liked that was really fair to men and gave one of my guys custody at a trial on an emergency basis, and then found the mother was alienating. She was only a judge for like 3 years. She got out. She probably got pressured because she was given custody to dads or something like that. But if we had a civil rights like movement to change the culture of the system, then then uh then that could do it. But you vote somebody out, somebody gets fired for specifically doing something, and everybody's put on notice. If you do this, you will get fired too. Then people will stop doing it. But you got to have enough backup and follow through where people are watching the next rulings, or maybe say three or four judges get voted out because of their horrible bias against fathers or whatever. Then other judges might be on notice just because of that, because they don't want to lose their job. But attorneys don't run against them. So and there's going to be no civil rights movement. Like I said, you can't get three guys to go to two different protests. After the first protest, they quit. So the real way that's left is to fight the way that I fought, and every other guy that I